Good morning, everyone. Today I want to talk about a topic that has stirred debate in Christian communities for generations. Is drinking alcohol sin? For some believers, the answer is automatically yes. Any amount is wrong. Others argue that drinking in moderation is completely acceptable, and a lot of this disagreement comes from not just from scripture, but from cultural habits and traditions that people assume are biblical. After taking a serious look at scripture, early Christian history, and moral reasoning, one thing becomes clear. The Bible does not teach that moderate drinking is a sin. Instead, it teaches wisdom, restraint, and self control. First, what does the Bible actually say? If drinking were inherently sinful, Scripture would tell us so, but it doesn't. In fact, wine appears throughout the Bible in positive context. Psalms 104 describes wine as something that gladdens the human's heart. At the wedding in Cana, Jesus himself turns water into wine, real fermented wine, for a joyful celebration. If alcohol were sinful, that miracle wouldn't make much sense. Paul even tells Timothy to drink a little wine for his health. So the message is not never drink, the message is don't get drunk. Don't lose control. The Bible consistently condemns excess, not the substance itself. Second, what does Christian tradition say? For the first 18 centuries of Christianity, believers drank wine without guilt. Wine was used in Jewish worship, in the Passover meal Jesus celebrated, and in the earliest Christian communion services. Christians drank wine at home and at church, and no one claimed it was sinful. It wasn't until the 19th century, during times of upheaval and alcoholism in the growing industrial cities, that some churches began teaching total abstinence. These movements were well-intentioned. They wanted to protect families from addiction, but they were cultural responses, not biblical mandates. Theologians like Aquinas, Luther, and Calvin all agreed on this point. Alcohol itself is morally neutral. It only becomes harmful when it leads to a loss of self-control. Third, moral theology distinguishes use from abuse. Christian ethics has always taught that there's a difference between using something well and abusing it. Food can be abused, money can be abused, technology can be abused, but we don't call those things sinful in themselves. Alcohol works the same way. Moderate drinking, practiced with discipline and respect for others, fits comfortably within Christian moral teachings. Excessive drinking, on the other hand, is destructive physically, emotionally, and spiritually. The real moral issue is self-control, not the beverage. And some might say, well, what about the counter-arguments to this? Some Christians argue that we should avoid alcohol completely because it can lead to harm or because it might cause someone else to stumble. These concerns are real. Addiction and abuse are serious social issues, but there are problems with turning these concerns into universal rules. First, risk does not equal sin. Many ordinary activities carry risk, yet we don't forbid them. Second, Paul taught believers to be considerate of others in specific situations, not adopt lifelong bans for everyone. And third, added rules that Scripture itself does not give off often leads to guilt, judgment, and unnecessary division. Legalism can hurt the church just as much as a careless behavior can. So, for all this I have to say, is drinking a sin? According to Scripture, Christian tradition, and moral reasoning, the answer is no, not when it's done in moderation. The Bible presents wine as a gift from God. Christian history supports moderate drinking, and moral theology reminds us that the issue is not the substance, but how we use it. What Christians call to is wisdom, balance, and self-control, not fear and legalism. A mature Christian approach recognizes the goodness of God's gift while also respecting their limits. Moderate drinking, practiced responsibly, is not a sin. It is simply one more area of life where we are invited to exercise freedom with wisdom. Thank you.